Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and Alex, Matt, and I are here and back with the Development Hell podcast. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite movie watching experiences. So this is going to be us speaking from the heart about some of our favorite moments watching movies. And of course, before we jump into our main topic of the day, we always have our coming attractions where we're going to decide if we're going to greenlight some projects or send them back to Development Hell. So, Inspector Gadget version, metal version. Matt, what's your version going to be?
Can I stick with them? Can I take the metal?
Matt seconds the metal version. So we're going to go forward with that moving forward. So this coming week, Friday, April 16th, is actually a really light week. And there's no like big wide releases. But the biggest thing, I guess, coming out is a neon horror film from like Neon Studios called In the Earth. And as the world searches for a cure to a disastrous virus, a scientist and park scout venture deep into the forest for a routine equipment run. And this is directed and written by Ben Wheatley, who most recently did a Rebecca remake for Netflix last year, but previously had done High Rise and Free Fire. And this is starring some people like Joel Fry, who happened to be in Game of Thrones, Reese Shearsmith, and Haileigh Squires. So this is a independent horror film about a disastrous virus and being lost in the woods at night. So Alex, what are you thinking?
I'm probably gonna, it could be great, but I'm probably gonna send this one back. It's not really up my alley. And when I see the stuff on TV now, there are movies that are made like 5 or more years ago now that are about this, about a virus, a pandemic, and it's always like change the channel. It's like we get enough from the news and our families every day. So personally, I'm gonna send it back. It's not gonna appeal to me.
Alrighty, how about you, Matt?
It sounds like that movie. It Comes at Night. That's what it sounds like.
I love It Comes at Night.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And I remember I was at not last year, so it's 2 years ago. I was at a 1-year-old's birthday party, and like we were inside my friend's house, and then we were all just like watching TV, and then someone puts on Netflix, and then. Like when if you ever find yourself surrounded by a lot of people that may or may not like watch a lot of movies, it's whatever, so it's not like you're gonna like hog the conversation. Oh, yeah, definitely watch this, don't watch that. So then someone randomly says, "Hey, why don't we watch that one?" And then someone says, "Which one?" And then they say that one because it looks weird and interesting, and It Comes at Night. And then I kind of looked. And I kind of just like look around, and like everyone is like either eating or they're watching this movie, and there's like kids walking around because we're in like the living room in the house. And I'm like, well, maybe are there something else? And then they're like, no, let's watch this. So we put it on, and then then that wasn't good, and we had to turn it off after a while because because that movie is intense.
So
the kids got scared.
Don't watch It Comes at Night at a 1-year-old's birthday party.
Never, ever, never, ever.
So going back to In the Earth, are we giving this a green light or a development?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I'll give it a green light for somebody else. I don't know if this is for me, but I'll give it a green light for somebody else. It doesn't seem like it's trash. Unless it's derivative, and then it is trash.
So this one I'm gonna have to go with Development Hell only because I feel like Ben Wheatley's hit his 3 strikes and you're out with me, because like High Rise and Free Fire have a lot of potential, I feel like, and they're really squandered by the end. And Rebecca just kind of felt hollow. And like I'm gonna gather this is gonna have some more personality and high quality aspects like High Rise and Free Fire, but if it's like his other films, I'm just going to feel super disappointed and frustrated by the end. So it's kind of, at this point, he's kind of giving me a bad taste in my mouth. So I don't know if In the Earth is going to get a whole lot of love around here with our group right here. But moving on to April 22nd on Netflix, we have Stowaway. And this is a new sci-fi space film. A stowaway on a mission to Mars sets off a series of unintended circumstances. And this is from director Joe Pena, who had previously done the film Arctic with Mads Mikkelsen, which, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. But this is starring Anna Kendrick, Toni Collette, Daniel Day Kim, and Shamir Anderson. So we're in space. We have Anna Kendrick and Toni Collette, and have some strong track record with our director. Alex, what are you going to say about Stowaway?
It sounds great. I saw the last half hour of Arctic.
Okay.
I like Anna Kendrick. I've liked her in some of the stuff I've seen her in. I always wanted her to do more or do different things. And so, I'll agree and like that. Yeah, I like space movies. I don't watch them very often, but whenever I do, I'm always, it's a breath of fresh air whenever I do.
Awesome. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I saw the trailer. It seemed interesting. I didn't make me like incredibly excited, but I wouldn't send it back. Yeah. You know what I have saw recently though? What is that a Danny Boyle movie? Is it Sunlight or Solaris?
Oh, Sunshine.
Sunshine. There we go.
With
that is a
Peaky
movie.
Blinders.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy's in it. Mark Strong's in it. That movie.
That's a hard movie to watch, and also that's really hard science fiction too. Like really, it's either. I feel like very quickly the movie basically says, "This is what I am." Like I am not. You are not getting spoon fed anything. Like you're going to have to either rewatch me, or you're going to have to hopefully. Wikipedia was invented when it came out. I don't know, but like, wow, that movie was damn weird, but damn good.
Well, and then it kind of turns into a whole different movie in the third act too.
That was also really disturbing and hard to watch. It was bloody, but also interesting.
Danny Boyle's a very interesting director. But for me, I'm definitely going to give Stowaway a green light here. I'm a huge Anna Kendrick fan. Toni Collette's an incredible actress. So especially after like Hereditary and Knives Out recently, I want to see her in more things. And I loved Arctic. That was one of the unsung movies of 2019 for me. So I definitely want to get a chance to see another film from that director, because he really proved that he had a talent for building tension and thrills. And I'm a huge sci-fi guy, so got my attention. So here's our biggest film coming in the next 2 weeks. Mortal Kombat. The new Mortal Kombat, which is going to be coming in theaters and also on HBO Max. And they actually have a primarily Asian cast this time around for like the actual Asian characters. So we're not getting Frenchman Christopher Lambert playing Raiden. And so this new Mortal Kombat is like borderline, from what I can tell, flirted with like a rated X movie because of the actual violence and the gore in it. Really? So they're going really forward with it. Yeah. It's director Simon McQuoid, and MMA fighter Cole Young seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. So yes, it sounds like Mortal Kombat. And so I also have seen the trailer for this, and I'll wait. But Alex, are you going to be greenlighting Mortal Kombat?
It's funny because my friend, the same friend I talked about before we got on the call, Joe, he played the trailer for me and my other buddy, Greg. He's like, "Aren't you guys really looking forward to this?" And I'm like, not really. Now, I'm not going to send it back to development hell, because there's a much younger Alex version of me that would be like, yes, I can't wait to watch this. This is going to be badass. And maybe someday I will sit down with you guys or somebody else and actually watch it and maybe enjoy it. But I'm probably not going to watch it because it's just like my brother's like, how come you're not into pro wrestling as much as you used to be? It's because muscle bound guys saying that they're the best in the world doesn't really work for me anymore.
That bloodlust is gone.
I guess so. So I can't, if I don't see myself in something, I'm not as into it, and so Mortal Kombat, I used to love Mortal Kombat, man.
I watched the 95 movies so much for fun.
Wait, Annihilation, the first one or Annihilation?
We do not speak of Annihilation around here.
Do we have to restart the video?
So if we were talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, that would be getting sent so hard to development now and like wish it out of existence because that movie is so bad.
There'll be so many dislikes on this video.
But the 95 one is so cheesy and knows exactly what it wants to be. And yes, objectively, there are some terrible filmmaking moments in the film. Like anytime there's CGI looks trash, like complete trash. Goro being a giant Muppet was probably a wise choice and still honestly looked pretty decent.
It was funny.
It just fit with the aesthetic of it because it didn't stick out as being weird. And like Christopher Lambert obviously is not like an Asian god, but he did have some great zingers in that movie.
I always liked him. I always liked him.
Yeah.
As an actor. He did another movie with Mario Van Peebles and Dennis Leary years before that my dad and I always enjoyed watching. He's just funny.
It's a fun movie. I know. Yeah. I love like Highlander is just as cheesy and ridiculous. Yeah,
totally.
But Matt, what are your thoughts on the new Mortal Kombat?
I probably won't watch it, but I am definitely going to YouTube every single fatality like everybody else is. I mean, because like every single time one of these new video games come out, I don't know if people are actually buying the games, but wow, like these like compilations of like 15 to 20-minute videos of just spines getting just torn out and then shoved down the mouths of like just like wild stuff. It's so creative and interesting and like vomit inducing almost, just like how bloody and violent it is. I mean, even the trailer for this movie, like to be able to slash someone, freeze their blood, and then to stab them with the frozen blood, their own frozen blood in the form of a knife. Like that sentence either means that someone thought of something incredibly creative or I'm having a stroke. So either way, yeah, like I'll YouTube it. Yeah. No second back.
So I'm planning on having a opening weekend watch party on HBO Max. So if anybody wants in, because I have to watch this with my friend Bobby, and I have to watch this with my brother, because it has to happen. And watching that trailer, so I don't watch a whole lot of trailers anymore, but the second I heard there's a Mortal Kombat trailer, I'm like, I'm watching this trailer. And I put that on, and that moment when Sub-Zero slashes Scorpion, freezes his blood, and stabs him with it, it's just like, yes, this is Mortal Kombat. And at the very end where like, it's like an older, grizzled, middle-aged Scorpion, which the actor who plays him is such a great actor. He had a very small role in Avengers Endgame as like a head of the like Yakuza and fights Hawkeye at one point. But like, and he's also Mariko's father in the Wolverine, who has that amazing fight scene with Wolverine, which is like by far the best point of the movie. And you kind of wish like could that have been the end of this movie? before we got into giant
Took a
CGI.
dive in that
like
last step.
robot
But
guy.
up until that, it was amazing. It was a really good movie. Up until
Yeah, Viper sucked. She shouldn't have been in the movie. She was terrible. Like her acting was bad. Like that character was just so out of place. And then did they need to go the route of having a giant mech suit, Silver Samurai?
Yes, they did. Yes, they
out
did.
of place. You always wonder if they'd be willing to do like a director's cut or something, because
There is a director's cut of it already, but it's the when he goes into that village and fights that like horde of ninjas, the scene is like bloodier and like 5 times as long.
Right.
So like that's like the biggest change, but like they didn't really do much with the finale. They kind of just left it as is, and it's just like, is there a way we can just snip like Viper out of this movie? Like just she's not there.
I mean,
but anyway,
Viper Silver Set. At that point, you might as well put in Megazord and Tommy the Green Ranger. I mean, why not?
Well, honestly, she was green, and basically the Silver Samurai was a mech suit. So basically, but anyway,
even my dad said it turned into a Power Ranger movie.
It felt like it. She felt like Rita Repulsa, honestly. And it's just like, I don't need you in my Wolverine movie. Get the hell out of here.
You know what it is? Hugh Jackman is too freaking nice. That's the problem. He's so good at that character. He's just too nice of a guy when he's, off the camera. It's like, yeah, sure, that sounds like a great idea, mate. It's like, no, it's a stupid idea. Well, come on.
Come on, James Mangold. But Scorpion looks really awesome, and not gonna lie, I got
wait. That was your impression?
Just stereotypical Australian.
Okay, Shane. Oh, crap. I'm sorry. I had to comment.
How the hell are you? That moment where Scorpion's like, get over here. I'm just like, yes, you have me. There you go. I'm watching this movie.
You sold me, man. If I was watching it with you guys or just a group of people, I'd have a lot. I'm sure I'd have a lot of fun with it.
We could totally watch it before the Oscars. You come over early enough.
Yeah.
It's all going to be on HBO Max. It's going to be so stupid. This is the kind of movie where it's like, I don't need this movie to be super serious. I don't need to feel like the gravity of like Earth's on the line. I just need ridiculous fight scenes. Like, this should be like a martial arts John Wick movie. Like, that's all going to a John Wick movie. Do I really care that much about like the grander scheme of human society in John Wick movies? No. It's cool and has cool action, and I love every second of it. That's what I'm hoping for Mortal Kombat. So, if you couldn't tell, I'm 100% greenlighting this. So,
You sound kind of lukewarm.
I'll turn it up if you need me to be more excited. So, I wanted to throw this one in here because I wanted people to hear about it so they go see it. Is Street Gang, How We Got to Sesame Street. And this is a new documentary about Sesame Street. And it feels very much like that Won't You Be My Neighbor, Mr. Rogers documentary from a couple years ago. And not going to lie, I've seen it already. So I'm just kind of throwing this out there. But it tells a story about how Sesame Street came about and how they took on issues that a lot of kid shows wouldn't take on at the time. And also, you see behind the scenes on how Sesame Street actually worked. And it's really weird because, like, basically below wherever those characters were, they didn't have, like, legs or feet or anything. They were just, like, giant sock, like, cloth open and just, like, dudes standing there with puppets. It's really funny seeing the behind the scenes of it. But I don't know if either of you want to talk about if you're interested in this movie or not, but I at least wanted to bring up Street Gang.
Yeah, no, that title's really misleading, by the way. It's kind of an odd way to start that title. But total green light, because I loved Will You Be My Neighbor. I was just watching a special they did on PBS for Mr. Rogers that Michael Keaton hosted.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was nice, and Sarah Silverman was on there, a couple other celebrities, Yo-Yo Ma, and he had all these musicians on over the years. Oh man, Mr. Rogers, man, I love Mr. Rogers. So
can you imagine? They redid A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, except Michael Keaton was Fred Rogers instead of Tom Hanks.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have.
There would have been a darker edge to Mr. Rogers if you had Michael Keaton play him.
Wanna be friends? Let's be friends.
Let's get nuts. By the way, Tom Hanks was absolutely perfect as Mr. Rogers, because, like, seriously, who the hell were you going to get to play Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
If it were not Tom Hanks. So just leaving it at that.
And I like that. I like that movie. I don't think it, I mean, I think the documentary is really the stronger film to watch to get into the world of what Mr. Rogers is all about.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like Twilight Zone style Mr. Rogers.
That was the thing. I did not expect that movie to be as artistically ambitious and ambiguous as it was. And I'm like, now you really have my interest, because, like, what was it going to be otherwise? Like a straight human drama, right? And I didn't expect them to, like, go as far as like even just the small touches of, like, whenever he traveled, they used the, like, Mr. Rogers, like, neighborhood kind of thing, and the whole beginning part where the whole movie starts with, like, a Mr. Rogers episode, and like he opens it up and it's Matthew Reese's face, and it's just like, huh. Yeah. I didn't expect this movie to go in this way, but
it was a Mr. Rogers episode for adults.
Yeah.
That's really what it was. And it got real.
But anyway, Matt, what do you think about Street Gang? Are you going to be checking out the Sesame Street documentary?
I'll greenlight, but I don't think I'm going to watch it, because even when I was a kid, I didn't really watch Sesame Street. I don't know why. I just never got into it. But yeah, I mean, like, it's part of people's childhood, and also they not only have done, but they even recently, like, are still making pushes to be more inclusive and to have conversations and to start dialogues about things that, like, affect children, like, in a very awesome way. Maybe even some would say, hopefully, like, they will do even more. Like, I remember we were in college, I think, and they introduced that character that had that was on the autism spectrum.
Yes.
And then there was, like, a lot of interesting talk about that, because it's like, whoa, like, that's, like, very different. That's very important. You know what I mean? So for them to make choices like that, to make, especially children, to, like, to start from like the most impressionable population that you could possibly think of, and to expose them to different, like, I don't know, just different things that they wouldn't be able to, like, notice or, like, grapple with, like, cognitively. That's pretty dope. Yeah, it's like, why not? I mean, it's not going to be for me, because it's not really going to touch me on a childhood level, but I think that it's still important. And if it makes money, then, you know, long live Sesame Street, right?
Mm-hmm. It's what's interesting is it doesn't even have Elmo in it. Like, it didn't even tell up to the point where Elmo became a thing in Sesame Street, because it was when Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and Carol Spiney were, like, the three big puppeteers on the show. And it was really interesting seeing Frank Oz and Jim Henson interacting with each other. And because, like, they were two very different people, like, very different. Because, like, I think you could even just tell Frank Oz is a lot more reserved kind of person, and Jim Henson was very much like, he was about it, and that kind of character. And then it's so funny because Oscar the Grouch is he's by far the best character as an adult now. And throughout the documentary, I'm just like, Yep. I respect Oscar the Grouch a lot here.
He's like Squidward, basically.
Yeah, it's more or less Squidward is Oscar the Grouch. It's like everyone's like, it's like, why? I hate Squidward, and you're adult. I'm like, I am Squidward. And just like, oh, because I would be annoyed. Like, it's like, not gonna lie, Big Bird's not exactly the brightest, or like, and I imagine now watching Elmo would probably be like, I want to rip my hair out. And like you watch SpongeBob, and like if I were Squidward, I would be so annoyed with SpongeBob and Patrick all the time. So why not? But our last coming attraction is coming from Amazon, and this is Tom Clancy's Without Remorse. And this is the latest Tom Clancy adaptation. This is from director Stefano Sollima, who had previously done the show Gomorrah, which is a famous like gangster show in Italy. It recently just got added to HBO Max. I put it on my to watch list, but he also took the reins from Denis Villeneuve and did Sicario: Day of Soldado. So that's probably the main thing that Matt, did you give like a straight thumbs down on that one?
I've never seen a movie that was such a fall from like what I would consider awesomeness from first installment to second. Wow, Sicario.
Were they
Sicario.
different director from the first one to the second one?
Well, yeah,
no, it's like the story.
Oh,
which is interesting because Taylor Sheridan wrote both of them. Taylor Sheridan's one of my favorite screenwriters.
That the second one didn't like. There was so many more. There's so many inventive things in that first one.
mm-hmm.
Remember the ending scene with Benicio del Toro, when like with like the long takes and stuff like that, or them like running around inside of a cave.
Well, to be fair, they did.
I'm not a fair person.
They did lose Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins after the first film. So like Roger Deakins shot the first one, which like I think anybody who's ever watched my channel knows how much I feel about Roger Deakins as a cinematographer. So yeah, the technical aspects, and also I could definitely see an argument about how the heart and the moral core of the film is missing from the first one, because like Emily Blunt's character's not in it, and she's really the moral center of the film, because like there's some ambiguity, to say the least, when it comes to like Josh Brolin and obviously Benicio del Toro's characters, and they're the two that come back for this one, and Benicio del Toro becomes a lot more
of a cartoon.
I was going to say more black and white. He's like more of like a straight up reluctant hero than a very gray, complex character. Josh Brolin's basically the same character, more or less, from the first one. And they make some interesting choices in the second one to set the stage. There's a very controversial opening sequence of a terrorist attack at a Kmart or something. And a lot of people have very strong feelings about it. But I
feel like the second one was a movie, and I felt like the first one tried so hard for this realistic tone, and then also just like the way that it was shot. It felt like I was watching a documentary, or I was like playing like the best ever Call of Duty campaign. But like the second one, I don't know, it felt smaller. It felt more simple. Like the morality of it, I don't know. It wasn't. Wow, this was a digression.
We're not here to review Sicario: Day of Soldado. We're here to talk about if we want to greenlight Tom Clancy's Without Remorse. And this is starring Michael B. Jordan as John Kelly, who is the character being adapted from who's a Navy SEAL who's being adapted from the Tom Clancy novel. Jodie Turner-Smith from Queen and Slim is in this. Jamie Bell, Guy Pearce, and
Guy Pearce, our boy. Yeah.
Guy Pearce keep popping up and stuff. So it's a Tom Clancy adaptation coming to Amazon. Oh, crap. This is written by Taylor Sheridan, too. Look at that. I'm even more intrigued by it. So, Alex, what are your thoughts on Tom Clancy's Without Remorse?
Never go on Zoom. Oh, no. I really like that cast. I'm not a big fan of the genre. You know, I don't know. I feel like it's been a while I've seen something from that genre. It really has gripped me. It really pulled me in because I've seen a lot of duds from it where I walk out of the theater and be like, it's just not my world. I know some people love this stuff. Got the novels on the bookshelf and everything. It's not really my thing. I like Michael B. I want to see Michael B. Jordan do some more like really dramatic stuff. I think I want to see him have more range. So I don't know if he's going to get a chance to do that. I don't know. It's hard to say just from what I know. So I'll just give it a yellow light because it's not my favorite type of genre, but it sounds like there's some talented people involved, you know.
You should watch the trailer. It's actually a really awesome trailer.
Yeah.
Like also like he's not like if something in you when you were watching Black Panther, it's like, whoa, okay. So he can be like really bad, but then also really intriguing as well. Like you get obviously he's more of a hero in this thing, but then you can definitely tell that he's kind of like what is that that sort of okay Tom Cruise movie,
Jack
Reacher. Yeah, like he's kind of like that in the sense where it's like oh okay, so he doesn't care. He's bad, but good. But he's bad. Like it's actually pretty. You should watch the trailer. I'll definitely greenlight this. I'll definitely greenlight this. Yeah. There's a scene at the end of the trailer. I'll just say this: a scene at the end of the trailer where instead of just like interrogating somebody with a gun, what he's he like in the middle of all this like confusion and people running around, he like takes I don't know like this thing of gasoline, like this container of gas, and just like pours it like all around all over a car, and then like takes a match or like a lighter, throws it. The car sets aflame, takes out a gun, goes inside of the car. It's on fire and holds a gun to the guy that he's trying to interrogate. And then he's basically like, tell me what I want to know. Like I've never seen that.
I did see that.
You did see that? Yeah, that's this.
Yeah. Trailer. Oh damn. Yeah.
That's intense. I'll watch the hell out of that. And then you're right. I don't even watch that genre this much, but like, yeah, give me a second helping of that.
I'm definitely a fan of at least some of the Jack Ryan films. So like the first three, like Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, I'm a fan. I haven't seen Sum of All Fears with Ben Affleck. That was at a point where Ben Affleck was not exactly like lighting the world on fire. So I'm like, I'm not really super interested in seeing that. And also, I definitely loved watching Harrison Ford in like Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger. But like those Tom Clancy novels are so dense and technical, and like I feel like they're hard to make relatable and accessible in like a short, like a film way. Because like I've watched the Jack Ryan TV series, and you get a lot more time to breathe to kind of spread the the stories out a bit over the course of like 8 episodes on Amazon, which I enjoy the show, and I think John Krasinski is a good Jack Ryan. So I'm a huge fan of Michael B. Jordan. He's a really talented actor, really talented actor. I'm interested to see what he does directing Creed 3, because apparently he is directing it and starring in it. There will be no Rocky in it either. His story is done. And the fact that I looked at this and saw Taylor Sheridan's writing the script for this, I'm like, I'm sold. So, because I love Sicario, I have a lot stronger positive feelings about Dea Soldado than Matt does. I'm a huge fan of Hell or High Water and Wind River. So, like,
Oh, wow.
I'm a huge fan of Taylor Sheridan's writing. So I'm very interested to see this. And, like, yes, Selima is no Denis Villeneuve. There's very few directors out there that are on like that level of craftsmanship. And it also helps to have Roger Deakins as your DP. But I'm very interested to seeing this film, and like it's on Amazon. So that's the nice thing. Stowaway, Mortal Kombat, and Without Remorse are all going to be available on like Netflix, HBO Max, and Amazon to take a look at. Which I feel like those kinds of things make a difference nowadays, because like if you have access to a streaming service and you don't have to leave home, it's a lot easier to say yes to a movie than having to go out and pay money to go out to a theater kind of thing. But most of these are going to be on streaming, and the Street Gang movie will eventually be on HBO because they do own the rights to it. It is an HBO documentary films release. So I think the only one that's a straight theatrical release that we talked about was In the Earth, that horror film at the beginning. But there we go. So sounds like some of these projects are getting some green lights, some of them bit mixed. But in terms of our topic for today is talking about some of our favorite movie watching experiences. So obviously, when you're a fan of film, I think all of us, and obviously we'll all speak to this, have those moments that are just ingrained in our head, like the first time we've watched a movie. Some of those movies just had that much of an impact, whether it was who we watched it with, when we watched it in terms of our point in our lives, or some other extenuating circumstances too. So, Alex, if you want to start, because usually we loop around like that, what's one of your favorite movie watching experiences?
Well, thanks, man. My first one's the first one that kind of came to mind, because I think I've shared some with you guys already on like various videos, just randomly. But the first one's more of a composite experience, and I thought about my grandfather, because before I moved to California 4.5 years ago. I've lost track of time. When I first moved there, I had never really had that close of a relationship with him. And, I knew him and we talked on the phone for holidays and whatnot. And I moved out there just when my grandma, his wife, had passed away. They had been together for almost 65 years. And she had just passed away, like right before I hit the road, like 3 days before I hit the road, to go out there. And so while I was there playing music and, doing odd jobs and, just, living a different kind of lifestyle out there, I would take care of him. I would help take care of him. He's pretty independent, actually, but I would help take care of some stuff for him, and stuff around the house and stuff, minor medical things. And he decided, that every once in a while he wanted to watch an old movie, that he really liked. And so I think the first one we watched together was A River Runs Through It, because it's a Presbyterian family, and he grew up in Tennessee with Presbyterian family, so he knew a lot about Presbyterian, churches and the mentality of Presbyterian priests, and just the way they talked and their lingo and philosophy. And so A River Runs Through It was the first one that we watched together. Eventually, we also watched Casablanca,
Here's looking at you, kid.
What's that? Yeah, Here's Looking at You, Kid. And, I didn't know that was made during the war, right? I think the war was still
it came out in like 41. I think somewhere around there. It's just like World War II is still going on, and we're make this movie about Nazi occupied Morocco.
Yeah, it's pretty ballsy. There's a lot I didn't know about that movie, including that the stars didn't think it was going to be anything big. They were like,
no, they did not go in making that a prestige film. That was just supposed to be like, the studios made like 100 movies every year, and sometimes you just need to make some to fill the screens. Yeah. And that was really the thoughts on Casablanca, and then look at it now. We still watch it today.
Yeah, and I have to say, it still works. There are some scenes that really melancholy and kind of break your heart. It's very almost in a romantic noir. It feels that way, but then it has a not so noirish ending. It has a lighter ending than you would expect from a film like that.
Yeah, what's interesting about Casablanca, the first time I watched it was in a theater. And it was part of TCM Classics Fathom events. Ben Mankiewicz coming on and like introducing a movie, and you get to watch it in a theater. I saw it with my friend Kevin and his girlfriend Carolyn. And I did not expect to laugh that much. That's a really funny movie. Yeah. There's some really sassy characters in Casablanca. Like, everything Claude Rains says basically is hilarious. It's just like, we're shutting you down. There's illegal gambling going on here. And they come as like, here's your winnings, sirs. Thank you. And he's just like,
I remember that. That was good. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But that's really awesome.
It was great. We also, the other ones we watched were Wizard of Oz, which, Wizard of Oz. And finally, we watched Lawrence of Arabia, because I had never seen that before. So it was just fun to watch the movies with my grandfather, and I think it took us 3 sit-downs to finish Lawrence of Arabia.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's a long time to get. By the time you get through that desert, you feel like you actually went through the desert with them.
So that film has one of the 2 greatest edits, I think, ever in film.
Oh, the sunset.
And cuts to the sun over the desert and everything. And then, of course, the ape throwing the bone up in the air in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's tumbling, and it's a ship floating through space.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Lawrence of Arabia is quite the adventure for all like 3+ hours of it.
Yeah, but if you're willing to kind of get through it, some of those kind of long stretches, what a story. It really is, and it's a true story, and that's what was cool. That's what was so cool about him. He was, is that he would like say press pause, and then he would be able to give you all the background on why things happened and who people were and why people said things a certain way. And, it was like sitting there with a historian, like watching the movie. It was so cool.
I'm going to wind up being that grandpa that like my grandkids are watching a movie with me. I'm just going to be sitting there like, and this person was in this movie. I'm like the whole entire time. And they're just going to be like, okay, grandpa, you've seen a lot of movies. But so like, I remember watching movies with my grandpa because like I grew up in the same household as my grandparents for 20 years of my life. And the 2 that I remember most watching with, the 3 most I remember watching with him, 1, Patton, because he actually fought under Patton. And that was an experience watching it with him because he loved Patton. He was like one of 5 soldiers that actually loved him. And like watching that film was so interesting with him. And he showed me The Great Escape as a kid. And still a film that I love watching. One of my favorite World War II movies, but probably the biggest experience with my grandfather was when he made a 10-year-old Shane sit down with him and watch The Godfather for the first time. And he told my mom, this is his heritage. And so a 10-year-old Shane watched The Godfather. And my mom skipped the part during Michael's wedding night where you see Apollonia's breasts. but I got to watch Sonny get lit up with like 10 Tommy guns where he looked like, my God, ripped to shreds. So there's a microcosm of America.
You watched the horse scene too at that age?
Yes.
Oh, that would have scarred. Oh,
Like,
man.
I want you to make him an offer he can't refuse. And just like, it'll just open that sheet and just like, ah, ah.
That would have scared me when I was a kid more than the machine guns.
Oh my God. But like my whole entire family, all my uncles and my cousins called me Luca Brasi because I was like the big kid. And then watching The Godfather, watching him and then seeing him get strangled to death and it looks like his eyes are going to pop out of his head. I'm like, so, which is funny because I watched all three of them as a kid and I hated the second one when I was a kid. And now watching it now, obviously the first one's a lot more accessible as a film watching experience. That second one is so deep and layered that watching it as an adult's a whole different experience. And also as a kid, I hated the parts where it was all in Italian and I had to read subtitles while watching the movie. And as an adult, they're like the best parts of the movie because Robert De Niro is a young Don. Fantastic. But one scene in the second one that is like, you see that Pacino coming is when Kay's like, I had an abortion. Our marriage is an abortion. And he just like, stop! And it like comes at her and like strikes her. I'm like,
right.
That's Pacino. That's that Pacino coming out.
Don't waste my motherfucking time.
I just watched The Insider this afternoon. He has some Pacino in moments, not quite like Heat though.
Heat is like that's like his greatest hits all in one movie. He just, oh my God. Thank you, Pacino.
So, fun movie watching with your grandfather. Matt, before you go to your actual pick, do you have any fun movie watching experiences with your grandfather?
He walked in on me watching Pulp Fiction and he said, "What are you watching?" And I turned the channel immediately because it was the basement scene. That was interesting.
Told me about that. Yeah.
Let me see. What other? I don't know. He's not really like a movie guy. He's not really like a movie guy. Yeah, not so much. Not so much, really. It was more so me just being creative of like how low I needed to make sure the volume was on the TV and live.
24%.
Oh, my
exactly.
Grandpa was in his 80s, so like he had everything up to like 50. So like trying to hear everything.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, my grandpa would
my brother's already that way. It's up to 1,000. It's like, oh.
Up to the thousands.
My grandpa used to sit and watch Jerry Springer in the afternoon. It's the funniest thing. He got such a kick out of it.
When I worked at Home Depot, that's all they have on in the break room. It's like Maury Povich and Jerry Springer, like the bottom of the less than pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is above that now. If and I don't watch pro wrestling anymore. Well, I will tonight, but
WrestleMania.
Like, that's all they have on in the hardware stores is freaking like the worst TV shows
ever. So Matt, what's
your like some of the drama? You know, like some of it.
It's crazy.
It makes me cringe, man.
When they had that Maury Povich episode in Austin Powers 2, hilarious. Oh man!
Yeah,
but anyway,
yeah.
What's one of your picks for?
I'll go a couple years back. I'll go reading the book to see Annihilation, like in prep, and then doing the same thing for Ready Player One. So I usually watch a movie before I read the book. I don't know why. But I really wanted to try with those two movies, and I walked out. After I finished both books, I had a very awesome reaction, reading both of those books, because Annihilation is incredibly abstract and it's scary and it's disturbing, but then you don't really understand exactly what you're reading because some of it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't have any like it'll just say like something random happened, and then like there's words written on the wall, but the words that are written on the wall are made by vines, and they spell these words, but it's not actually English. It's like random Latin words. It's like random stuff. And it's like just keep going and going, and then those words and the vine has like this little toxin that like spits out like pollen at you, but then the pollen like it like f's you up. Like it's like this random just random stuff. And then I watched the movie, and then they decided, we're gonna sort of follow the book, but we're gonna also inject our own weirdness because Garland has a very particular set of skills in terms of like putting something to screen, making you go like scratch your head and kind of like want to do like this, but you want to keep watching. So that was interesting. Reading the book for Ready Player One, that was interesting because I read the book and there was like already like a hype because that book is not recent. Like I think that book came out like it's been out for a while. And then watching the movie, you definitely see, okay, like this is where the movie and the book are. I can tell where the story's going. And then you see like, oh wait, what's it doing? No, that was bad. Okay, then it starts coming back to where the book was. Okay, good. Oh wait, no, what are you doing there? Oh, now it's just not. Yeah, then it disappeared. That was it. I like the fact that I got to read both of those before I saw the movie instead of the opposite way around. Mostly because I wanted to see. I didn't want anything spoiled. Number one, on the internet, that was a big thing for me. I didn't want anything spoiled for both of those films. And then number two, I really wanted to like try something completely different. So that was something that I want to start doing again. So yeah, that was really important to me. I did the same, but then like movies like The Shining or Carrie, I read those after I saw the movies, or I can think of another good example. It's like random stuff like that. But Ready Player 2 came out, so hopefully that's good and not trash. I hear like mixed things about it though. So
was there a book for that one too?
The book just came out.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now they're doing a movie for it as well.
So
maybe
I want to add a little bit onto Matt's story about seeing Ready Player One because I saw Ready Player One with him. And this was the tail end of my food poisoning incident. So I was still recovering from food poisoning when I went to go see Ready Player One with Matt, and we stopped at a Chinese food restaurant afterwards.
Oh, the rice.
And I got the weirdest look from the lady at this Chinese food restaurant when I ordered 2 pints of white rice and a bottle of water.
Oh.
That's it. I didn't order anything else. She gave me the weirdest look. And like, I can't really eat anything else right now. So, and I sat there and just ate that white rice. And
he really did eat that right.
Matt and Ramsey thought it was so weird too. And I'm just like, leave me alone. I have a simple palate.
Man. Did you even put, I don't think you didn't put like soy on that, but you didn't think nothing.
I can't have soy sauce.
Okay, yeah.
Because it makes me feel like I have food poisoning. I'm going to leave it at that. So I'm not going to get too deep into that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense on the digestive
side of that. So, but yeah, I remember Ready Player One in the theater because I had read the book too. That's one of the few times I've read the book beforehand. And boy, did that make my experience of the movie worse. Because I know the first thought that came out of my head was, where was all the rush? And I was really mad.
Yeah, where's the rush? That was a whole giant thing. That was like 2 chapters. Like 2.
As someone whose favorite band is Rush, I wanted to know why they took Rush out of the story. And like the movie ended, I'm like, but where was the rush? Where was the rush? But they did add The Shining into it. And like that, the Overlook Hotel part in the movie was pretty cool. But
But
still
then
made me
H,
mad.
they kind of they kind of did some stuff with H. Like, it wasn't, the reveal at the end of the movie wasn't as awesome as the book. It's just tiny it's like tiny little random things that like amounted, because like you can't take like the cool parts of the book,
Yeah.
but then like it's almost like saying like a punchline of a joke, but without the setup. You know what I mean? Like you can't just like sprinkle random stuff that like interesting ideas, but then without any context.
Ready?
Because then it's not really like a surprise. It's more it just comes off as like random, and it's like, okay, it's almost like it's like a whiteboard that has a bunch of like post-it notes instead of like an actual like story, like this thing, then that thing happens, and that thing. It's just there's no connective tissue, so it's just random.
My
But it looked
thoughts,
nice sometimes.
my thoughts on Ready Player One is it's borderline an unfilmable book because I think the issue is it's so detailed and so layered and there's so many references in it and so much to it that you either have to make like a 20-hour movie to fit it all in or simplify it. And when you simplify it, it just comes off as like
Generic.
and let's throw as many intellectual properties, IPs that you can possibly get into a movie. And honestly, that's kind of what the movie felt like.
And the director should have known, because of who he is, he should have done a better job.
Steven Spielberg.
He should have done a better job.
So I felt like it was a hard thing to tackle. And they just kind of went safer and blander a bit with it. And like, yeah, it was cool getting to see Chucky and the Iron Giant and all kinds of like big references and stuff like that. But like
Mecha
Godzilla, like it just in the end kind of just felt like, how many references can we possibly make here? And just kind of threw it all in there. So I'm interested in what they do with the next one. So I kind of broke my memories into like three kinds of parts. So like there's the things you experience at like home, the things I've experienced seeing a movie by myself in a theater, which, because like I see before COVID, I've seen a lot of movies by myself in a theater, like a lot. And then you have those moments where you experience movies together in a theater. And I'm going to start with the ones that are at home. And I feel like some that really stuck out to me watching at home, which is a very different experience. It's harder to concentrate when you're home and really get everything out of a film because there's so many more distractions when you're home and outside of a theater. But I already talked about The Godfather a little bit. But I remember one movie that I was so engrossed with it. My brother visited me at college my junior year. And I remember it being junior year because I was in my apartment and I had my pod in Hill Hall. And we had gone to the Princeton Record Exchange, which all of you out there, if you're on the East Coast and are around the area and haven't been to the Princeton Record Exchange, it is cool. So get your records, get your movies, get your CDs, get all of your cool stuff for really cheap. And I don't even get paid by them. So there you go. So and I bought the Prestige for the first time and I hadn't seen it. And I watched that with my brother and both of us were sitting there like, what? And Ethan actually picked up on what was going on before I did. Because honestly, there's a lot of times where it's like big twists in movies. I don't see them coming. Except like now.
I'm
Like,
usually the last one to the party, so don't, yeah.
Now I've literally I see hundreds and hundreds of movies every year now that it's like, it's really hard to surprise me. But when I watched The Prestige, that blew my mind. I was sitting there in my dorm room like, what just happened? Because that movie hits you with two humongous twists at the end. And they're both equally disturbing in their way that one is, and like, I don't want to ruin it because like if you haven't seen The Prestige, like go watch it. One is so indicative of the pure will, what a person can do to commit to their profession, that they basically have to live two lives. And then the other one is so purely the addiction of humanity needing to accomplish something so bad that you would literally destroy your own humanity to do it. And destroy yourself potentially over and over and over again. I'm just like, watching the end of that movie, that blew my mind. And that was something that, like, I couldn't look away. I was sitting on my bed in my dorm, watching it on my TV. I'm like, I did not look away. I didn't look at my phone once. I was just in it. And I loved that experience so much. And my quick other one, this wasn't this is arguably not a great experience, but this is how much the Babadook got me. And I know I've probably told this story before.
And it took me so long to get you to watch that movie. I got him to watch that movie. He goes, I say, Shane, it's not just horror, because this is before Shane got into horror movies. And then I was like, Shane, no, it's 2/3 drama. It is 2/3, and then it gets scary. And you were like, I'll think about it. I'll do it next week.
So I watched it at 1:00 in the afternoon in my living room in my apartment. It's all my blinds were open. It was completely light in there. I was curled up in a ball on the couch. Like, I was that freaked out by this movie. And my roommate, Pat, I love Pat. He literally came out of his room, saw me in the fetal position on the couch, and cackled at me. Walked by, made himself dino nuggets, and walked back into his room.
I know,
unfazed. And I'm just like, I hate you right now, Pat.
Band name. Dino Nuggets.
Dino Nuggets. But I think only Hereditary out of all horror movies have hit me on an emotional level like the Babadook. They're both films that will emotionally devastate you for 2/3 of the runtime. And then when you have nothing left, then comes at you. And then you're just like, I can't defend myself against this anymore. This movie has me. So
Matt, why would you try to do that to me? Why would you tried to do that? I think
I tried so hard. Yeah, I tried to get you too, and then you were like, I don't want to watch the movie because the DVD has the lady like holding her son screaming.
Yeah, was that Toni Collette, by the way?
No, that's an Australian lead.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
that's cover scared me. That's why I was gonna watch it.
It's right there. I have it right there.
Wait, can you pull it out so the viewers can see what I'm talking about? Also, I want to scare Alex again.
Yes.
This is a terrifying DVD cover.
It's terrifying.
And Essie Davis was absolutely amazing in this movie. Yeah, so this is William Friedkin's quote, the director of The Exorcist. I've never seen a more terrifying film than The Babadook. It will scare the hell out of you as it did me.
Wow.
Says the man who made The Exorcist. So
I've never seen it all the way through. Have either of you seen The Exorcist? I've only ever seen like the famous clips. I never actually saw the movie like start to finish.
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen the theatrical cut, because I think I've only seen the director's cut.
How long is that?
I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Okay.
So like I don't have a frame of reference to compare it to the original, but there's some like dark, creepy ass like going to the Middle East kind of like stuff with Max von Sydow at the beginning of the film. And The Exorcist still gets me. That's a disturbing movie.
It's one of those. It's that type of horror movie that it just works on you. For me, it worked on me after I watched it. That's what I don't like about horror movies is I'm in bed like I can't stop watching this movie in my brain. Like it's just it really. So yeah, that's that. Oh,
I felt that way about the news in 2020.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I couldn't turn my brain off thinking about all this doom scrolling that I do.
Why won't they just wear masks?
Yeah.
2020, the greatest horror movie of all time. And then its sequel, 2021. So Alex, do you what's your next memory?
So my next theater experience was in a movie theater. You guys know, I love Tarantino, so whenever he releases a movie, I usually go to see it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I told you guys about this one before. If I did, oh well, I'm saying it again. But I saw Django Unchained first with my family, and then I saw it the second time with my buddies that I grew up with here in Monmouth County, Jansen and Greg, I think. And so seeing it the second time, Django Unchained it was a controversial movie, for multiple reasons, for the language, for the violence, but it was also really, really funny. Like the comedy, like I always say, especially before they get to Candyland, and I'm going to talk about the scene right before Candyland when they're in Mississippi for the first time.
Uh-huh.
It feels, the way it's written, actually feels like a Judd Apatow production. Like it has that same comic pacing to it that like, where is Seth Rogen in this movie?
Jonah Hill is.
Jonah Hill is right, exactly. Like it has this sort of comic beat to it that feels like that. And so what was so interesting was watching it the second time, and I like doing that sometimes, I'll actually watch the audience and different patches of the audience, almost like if you like went out and like carved out little patches of the audience there, would laugh at different parts. Some would laugh at this part and others wouldn't. And then at the next part, this patch would laugh and that patch wouldn't. So it's really interesting to watch that happen. And so after they have that montage of Django just, being like an ace shooter, shooting beer bottles out of the snowman and everything. And, there's that scroll. It said, Django and King Schultz had their long winter, and then after I start laughing.
And then it's like Mississippi.
Exactly. And people continue to laugh because what other director does that? Like they just like put a bunch of text like in the middle of their movie, to explain what's going to happen next. I've never, maybe Woody Allen would have done something like that. But
those are those moments where you've like Quentin Tarantino has seen a lot of old movies and does certain things that old movies used to do. And when he did it in The Hateful Eight really bothered me because when he did that whole like, and while they were having this whole conversation, somebody poisoned the coffee.
Right.
And I'm like,
I knew you were gonna do it.
I know. That's the only part that I thought maybe it might age on me. It didn't grow on me.
Because it's like, I know what he's doing. It feels like an old-timey murder mystery. And like they used to do stuff like that in old murder mysteries. But like, leave that thing in the past. That doesn't really work.
It doesn't work anymore, right? Exactly. Now for this, it didn't bother me then. It doesn't bother me now. What he does in Django. I just thought it was at the time. I just thought it was so funny because I'm like Tarantino, like you're crazy, But underneath the sprawling Mississippi is a line of slaves.
Yeah.
Walking in the mud. And so I'm laughing, my friend's laughing, he actually says fucking Tarantino, and then we both stop laughing. And then other patches of the audience keep laughing. And then I hear a woman in front of me go, "Why are they laughing?" And I remember thinking, I have never, ever been in a theater and felt that mixed sort of reaction before.
Well, and that's so interesting because, and it is interesting because, like, I know the three of us are huge Tarantino fans,
Yeah.
and I love Inglourious Bastards and was listening to the Cinephiles about their episode of Inglourious Bastards and how both of them have so many problems with that movie. And I'm like, it's my favorite Tarantino movie. I love it. I think it's amazing. And then really thinking about like how bad would that look to a Jewish person watching this movie where this is like turns into like a over the top action movie about like bloodthirsty Jewish people trying to hunt down Hitler and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, that's when you put it that way, it's kind of weird. And
that's the reason why I wanted to make that's why I like, so for the viewers out there, sometimes what we do is that we like have this group text, the three of us, and then we'll have a conversation about the topics that we discuss. So that was the reason why I wanted to there's the behind the scenes there. That I wanted to have like you guys at some point we should totally do that 3 rants thing. And one of the reasons why I wanted one of those rant topics to be, is there a line? Like there should be like creative expression, right? Like when you start to censor things, then like I guess first and foremost, if you're to start to censor things, then whatever the products that start to come out, kind of like even when they did it with comic book, I don't know, like I have to imagine that reality starts to get lost when you start to like draw back from, you start to shield people from things, then like only some stories are being told only in a certain way, only by certain people. I don't know, there's a lot of drawbacks to kind of like putting on blinders, but that's an interesting point for both of you guys to say, like, I think even though I 100% think that everyone should be able to like get their ideas out on screen, like, and also that's not just like a singular idea. Like a movie is such a very, there's a lot of people coming together to create like a cinematic effort. That's a lot of like ideas coming to the surface, a lot of voices. But I do think that there is such thing as like irresponsible filmmaking. I'm not necessarily saying that those 2 examples are that, but I do think that if you do want to make a movie, especially about something divisive, totally do it. That should be said. No one should ever forget slavery or the Holocaust. No one should ever forget that. But you have to realize that there are going to be reactions from people and some of those things. And I think that's like, if someone were to say Inglourious Bastards went too far, like, I don't think I can ever say, no, it's fine. It's just, you just don't get it. Like, no, like that's really interesting. Could you imagine me saying that? That'd be wild.
And it's interesting because I remember my Django experience because my brother Ethan and I went to go see Django together, and there was a group of Black people behind us, like a row behind us. And there was definitely moments where we just kind of turned to each other, like, and they weren't laughing. They weren't having a good time. And I'm just like, and like, perfect example, the whole Ku Klux Klan scene, right, where it's just like, obviously they turn into a joke about the sacks and like the eye holes and stuff like that. And like, it's absurd. It's an absurdist scene. And I'm sitting there, I was laughing, and like, there's like kind of like scanning the theater, just like, oh, people aren't laughing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like, I have that privilege of not having to carry that baggage that the film is focusing on, to not be able to appreciate a bunch of idiots giving each other crap about a sack in the eye holes. But then if you take a step back and really think about what those people are, it's a bad thing. And like the whole, like, I love Don Johnson. I thought he was great in Django Unchained, but like some of the conversations that he has in that film with like the whole entire scene where he's trying to get the one slave how to address Django because he's not a slave.
Right.
And it's just like,
It's hard to watch.
it's a really uncomfortable scene to take a step back and think about. Like, he's saying some horrible things. And she's like, so treat him like a white person? He's like, no, that is not what I said. And like the back and forth of the dialogue is played off as humorous and banter. And then you think about the layers of like he used some kind of derogatory term for somebody who's obviously has mental disabilities and developmental disabilities. Like, treat him like Jerry. And it's just like,
Yeah.
there you go, Big Daddy. You're a piece of shit. Kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Well, there's so many. It's funny. There's so many despicable characters in a lot of Tarantino films. Even Pulp Fiction. Some of those people, we love them, but they really, on any other day, they're complete scumbags. A lot of them. But in this case, there's a despicable nature, to so many of these characters. It's in a world of atrocity,
Mm-hmm.
and having comedy surrounded by atrocity is. So it's a balancing act, and I'm not sure that Tarantino really cares about balancing as much as he just kind of wants to, snip the cord and let everything fall. I don't know.
Well,
Toward the end, I don't think he cared. I don't think because I think there was satire in there, and then there was like, hopefully you're laughing for the right reason type of stuff, and it's kind of like the sack. But like towards the end when it's just like a gore fest, and it's like, wait, is this Evil Dead? When did this happen? You know what I mean? Like when it's just wild and crazy and Samuel Jackson, or like when the wife gets blown and she just gets like blown away. Yeah, like in that.
Sure.
Stuff like that made me like the movie less. But then having seen a lot of his other movies, like I can put that, for me anyway, just for me, I can put some of the stuff that I saw in that movie in the context of his filmography. So then it's like, well, that's a Tarantino thing. That doesn't mean I have to like it, but that's a Tarantino thing. And I'm not surprised that things got super wild, because things usually get super wild because like you can't watch Kill Bill and go, oh wow, this guy's really subtlety. That's his thing. You know what I mean? Like,
which
yeah.
I think the trickiest thing is when there's two kinds of Tarantino films. There's his completely fictional Tarantino, and then when he takes on real life things and warps them. And I just last weekend rewatched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's strange getting to the end of that movie and having that like revisionist ending. And the more I think about it, I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. Because it's like, on what level does that, like, I don't know if cheapens the right word, but like something horrible happened in real life on that night. And instead it turned into an over-the-top.
Wait, hold on, Matt. Did you see the movie?
I saw it.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So, like,
I didn't. I thought it was lukewarm, and I'm really curious what Shane is about to say, because if he says that Tarantino squandered an opportunity to make the victims the hero, then I'm really excited to hear him say that. So you have to say that now.
Well, Matt said that. What I was going to say was they took a horrible thing that happened in real life and made it kind of a crazy over-the-top slapstick action sequence with fictional characters kind of like injecting themselves in. Because like, and I'm like, that scene. And then I know the family of Bruce Lee has a lot of issues with how he was portrayed in the film, which to me, I enjoy that scene a lot. And I love Brad Pitt and how he interacts with the character Bruce Lee. Because that's the thing too, because it's not actually Bruce Lee. Because like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood isn't based on a true story. And and I think that's the question. Where do you draw that line of playing around with real people? And are you making like Lincoln by Steven Spielberg is supposed to be about Abraham Lincoln, like the real Abraham Lincoln? Obviously, every based on a true story takes cinematic liberties to make it a better film. But at what line do you fictionalize it and kind of just like do what you want with it? Because obviously that's what Tarantino is doing with Inglourious Bastards. With Django, I don't think's on the same level because like they're not real, like they're not based off of, as far as I know, not based off of actual people. But like Inglourious Bastards has real people. And or even some of the fictional people are based off of real people. But like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, these are a lot of real people with these two fictionalized versions of real people. And there's some weird parts of that movie, like that whole Damian Lewis's Steve McQueen scene was like, oh, weird. I'm like, why is this in the movie? But I think that's a bigger question on like, I'm kind of hoping that his next movie, he just shifts gears to making something fantasy again, like a fictional film, and kind of
not the Star Trek thing. Not the Star Trek thing.
I want to see him do Star Trek.
I don't want to see that at all. You guys remember he was going to do that, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't think it's going to happen. But the only, as a fan of his, I would just like, because then we might get a bonus film from him, because he wants to stop at 10, but he says Star Trek won't be his final movie. If he did it, he would do it, and in addition to another movie.
He is full of shit when he says that he's only going to do 10 movies.
I disagree. I believe he's the type of guy, if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. You know, and I think he'll stop at 10.
Then he better continue to write then.
Yeah, I could be wrong. But I think he means it.
I just hope that like because this is going to be his 10th, right? Like his next movie.
Yeah.
So like, I hope he just does a fictional film. At this point, I'm kind of like, get back to like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, Kill Bill kind of thing.
I know there's a whole camp that wishes he stayed in that realm, and I understand why. That's how those are my brother's favorite films from him, and I get that. But you know, I think the historical fiction, can I call it that? That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it is.
You know, that's the stuff I think that has become the unsettling thing from a movie critic standpoint and from a moral standpoint, being an audience member sitting there wondering, is this okay to do? In the case of Django, you're right, it wasn't anyone necessarily specific, but he was taking a very real period.
Yep.
And he was kind of inserting spaghetti Western characters to, you know, of course, to defend the movie. There is a redemptive quality, right? You know, especially that scene where he says Alexandre Dumas, is that the right name? Is black. He's a black Frenchman. There was such a redemptive. That's my favorite moment of the film, I think, because he just makes DiCaprio, you know, eat his own words, and that's just beautiful. But you know, yeah, there was it's unsettling, and to have that mixed humor, you know, is just like, whoa, you know. So in the theater at that time, I was like, this is different. I've never experienced anything quite like that, watching a movie with an audience. So glad I saw it with an audience.
Alrighty, Matt, what's your next memory?
Yeah. So I wanted to do audience stuff too, actually. Wait, and then one last thing about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think that one of the lines of, hey, maybe don't do this, even if it look cool, should be the fact that like a filmmaker has to know that people don't like to read all the time, including me. Trust me, people don't like to read all the time. So like you have to know that like an audience might take what they see in the movie as fact. If you make like Bruce Lee look like a chump, or if you do like this thing or that thing, like that very well might be the takeaway message that some people might have. But I don't know. And that's something that he has to, sit on and mull over while he's, you're raking in millions of dollars. But in any event,
here's why I don't have a problem with it, and it's the same reason my father loves Bruce Lee. I really love Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, God rest his soul, was an incredibly confident and at times arrogant man, and he had every reason. He could kick anyone's ass in the world, probably. So to me, it's just funny, that he could get, bested by Brad Pitt of all people. So I'm not gonna, with the family complaining about, man, Bruce Lee gets every bar in America. It's like, oh, you see about Bruce Lee? Yeah, Bruce Lee. Every bar in America talks up Bruce Lee like he was the bee's knees. So I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for the Bruce Lee legacy. His legacy is just cemented in the ultimate badass. So I'm sorry. I can't. I'll stop.
Okay.
That's just my opinion on that. But you do make an interesting point about that. Not everybody reads, and I saw it with a friend who didn't even know that the Mansons were in it. So it was one of those movies where I think people probably should have read about the real story before they saw it.
Oh, but they're not going to.
Not going to, right. So.
Oh man. So I had just random audience reactions in theater that I just really liked. So in no particular order, I'll go in Godzilla 2014. Not the greatest Godzilla movie, not the greatest movie. But when it had been a very long time since I anyway had seen a Godzilla movie up to that point, and I was in the theater, and it was like the night before graduation. I ended up watching that movie the night before graduation, and then the day of after graduation. But what happened?
Where was my invite, Matt? I'm just kidding.
You could have sat next to my brother. But like, who actually fell asleep, and I was pissed off about it. But never mind. And then, but like, when I was watching it the first night when I saw it, oh man, like the whole movie was awesome. And then there's like Roar, and there's Bryan Cranston, and he dies, and there's other stuff. And he's the person you watch a movie, so you're not really nitpicking it, especially because you have like a lot of hype in it. So you're trying to like really hard. It's okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just keep going to the next scene. That was weird. It's okay. Just keep going. Like you're just like excusing everything. But damn it, when you see Godzilla breathe fire for the first time in that movie, like I went like this because like I was like in a row of people, and then only certain, this is like the nerdiest thing I've ever like done. Like random people in the audience, including me, went like, wow. Like I went wow when his tail started lighting up, and like I kind of like went like this in my seat. And then when he breathes fire, like the atomic breath for the first time, that was fantastic. And then everybody, like the whole theater, like this is Godzilla. It's not a Star Wars movie. It's not like, this is Godzilla, right? So like it's not an Avengers. So like I don't know, maybe I wasn't expecting the whole theater to like erupt, but damn, it did. Damn, I did. And that movie that scene, I when I'm bored every once in a while, I'll YouTube it. It was fantastic. Fantastic. Great.
I want to build off of that because I had a very similar reaction to Godzilla 2014. I saw it with Jess, and oh man, I was so pissed when they killed Bryan Cranston off like a third of the way into the movie. I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't sign up to be in this movie with Aaron Taylor Johnson over here. I signed up to be with Bryan Cranston. But when it finally got to that fight at the end, and when Godzilla straight tail whips that flying kaiju and impales it, I'm just like, this is what I came to see. And then when he's fighting the giant female one, and when he grabs its mouth and opens it up, and I'm like, and it's his spine starts lighting up, and you know exactly what's happening. And he just went like, and shot that nuclear blast out of his mouth and literally blew up its insides and ripped it to shreds. And I'm like Jess could attest. I was like, yes. Because
that's pretty violent. That's pretty wow.
Yes. And obviously they're just a bunch of big CGI things. So like the violence is like neutered a bit. Because like it's not like you're watching actual gore, but like that thing got ripped to shreds. And you're just sitting there like, I grew up as a kid like Matt watching a lot of Godzilla and seeing that, because I think that's not to offend anybody who loves the Matthew Broderick 90s one. That giant iguana is not the Godzilla that I imagine Godzilla to be. But like in 2014, that Godzilla looks like Godzilla, and him doing his thing with the whole spine lighting up and everything for the first time watching that in a theater at, I guess, 21 years old was the coolest thing. So that was really awesome.
You know what's not cool though?
What?
It's silly, but you know what's really not cool is that right around the time where the trailers or when the movies started coming out, like these like, we can curse, right? Can we just?
I've already cursed multiple times during this episode.
So these dicks on the internet started body shaming Godzilla, calling him fat. I'm like, are you serious?
That was you leave Godzilla alone.
Was it Bill Maher? Were you sure it might have been Bill Maher?
Google it. People Google something like 2014 Godzilla.
I second what Matt was saying because it was so stupid. They're like, it's like, why is Godzilla so fat? It's like, Godzilla be thick. Leave Godzilla alone. Because like, it's the design of this Godzilla is thicker than some of the more traditional ones, but who gives a shit?
It's a lizard. Like,
you have too much time on your hands to be on the internet body shaming a fictional giant nuclear dinosaur. Like, come on.
So that was, oh man. And I'll say another awesome audience moment. I'll say a small one and then a large one. A small one was like, this is in X2 when I saw it in theaters. I was sitting next to a friend of mine, and then there's so many awesome moments in that scene. But when Magneto rips the iron out of that guy's blood, and then he was like has like it was like atoms almost. Yeah, he's just like that.
He's like standing like this, and they're all just like flying around him.
That was fantastic. And then like everyone was like cheering and clapping. Also in that same movie, when it was interesting, like when I guess those army people start attacking the mansion, and you see Colossus, the guy that has like the metal skin, he just tears into one. It's like that was awesome. And then when Wolverine was doing all the Wolverine stuff, that was awesome. And then also another audience reaction. Every single Simpsons joke in the Simpsons movie, like, hit. And I feel like, and I've seen the movie multiple times, and some jokes are like, that was funny. And then some jokes are, okay, that was funny. But then I feel like, because it's like the first ever Simpsons movie, so kind of like, there's like hype behind the laughter too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
like a lot of like it was that much more funny and like laughing that hard with an audience of people that probably had been doing the same thing that I've been doing ever since I was a little boy, like recording the VHS like on Fox and watching it later at home because you didn't want to get the DVD box sets yet. Cause like $20, what the hell? But and then like so awesome. So awesome.
I remember 3 jokes very specifically. The 4 jokes from the Simpsons movie very specifically. I was elected to lead, not to read. Arnold as president. Here's our 4 border states, something, something, and Kentucky. And where it's like you thought you might actually find out where Springfield was, and then they have 4 random states bordering it that are nowhere near each other, and you're just like,
like Washington, Florida, yeah, like
yeah. The Spider Pig, and I still make this reference today. EPA. Whenever somebody brings up the EPA, it's like EPA. The grandpa from The Simpsons. And I'm not even the biggest Simpsons fan, but I remember watching that movie for the first time and getting plenty of laughs out of it. But I'm gonna kind of speed run through mine because I know we've been talking for a while. Some of my experiences in the theaters, like obviously I mentioned, I've seen a lot of movies by myself in theaters, and some of the most memorable moments I've had being by myself going to a movie, watching Mother. And at the end of Mother, when one of my fellow audience members literally got up when the credits started rolling and said aloud to everyone in the theater, that was the worst movie I have ever seen, and just stomps off. And the rest of us are all just sitting there like staring at each other. Like, okay, guy. I was just sitting there by myself like, tell us how you really feel kind of thing. I remember seeing a marriage story. I saw it by myself at Montgomery Cinema after work one night. And I literally had to call Jess afterwards because I was that emotional after watching the movie. Because having grown up with divorced parents, that movie hit on a whole different level for me personally, and sitting there and definitely growing up in an environment where my parents said horrible things about each other and not really being in a place where it's like, I wasn't really raised to have fond thoughts about my dad, and having a relationship with my dad now means so much to me. And watching A Marriage Story and thinking about how most of my life I did not have fond thoughts about my dad. And that was an emotional experience that I kind of wish I didn't experience by myself, sitting there alone in the theater. There was one horror film that I saw. I was the only person in the theater. Not good. It was a found footage horror film called Phoenix Forgotten, about like a found footage like alien abduction. And I'm just like sitting there in the theater, and I kept looking over at AMC Hamilton at the dark corner in the back left corner of the auditorium, thinking like, something there? I'm not okay. I don't want to be here by myself. It's not a fun time, because at least if there's other people in the theater, you could just like feed off of their energy. Nope, by myself. I'm just like,
right, more of a collective thing.
Yeah, because
Was
like
it good?
I liked it, but like it scared the shit out of me. But there's and then obviously you have those big moments in a theater with the audience. And I think the biggest one for me is Avengers, because I remember back in 2012, I was a sophomore in college. 14 of my friends and myself went 2 hours before the movie started. We're in line. Finally, they let us in an hour before the show started. We got our giant line at AMC Hamilton, the 15 of us. I was next to my friend Ed, who the whole entire week, for some reason, was speaking with a British accent. He just started doing it. And kept yelling at people rows below us, "Oi, Steve!" And I'm just like, what are you doing? And somebody started yelling back at him. And I'm like, Ed, if you don't stop, I'm going to let them kick the shit out of you because I'm not defending you at this point, because he was just egging people on at that point. And there was a group of fans who came in dressed head to toe as the 6 Avengers characters, who walked in and everyone started clapping and cheering for them walking into the theater. And those are wonderful moments. And I have to say, there was one negative moment about the crowd during that movie, was I didn't hear Hulk's line after he ragdolled Loki because everybody was cheering too loud. I didn't hear puny God.
Yeah.
And I wish that I did. I actually saw it a week later after I got home from finals and with my brother and my friend Kevin, and I heard the line for the first time actually watching the movie. Yeah. So that can get there. Sure. Probably one on the same level was Force Awakens, because I went with like a group of 10 people. My brother was dressed head to toe as Kylo Ren, had the $250 crossguard lightsaber and everything. I was dressed in business professional. I came straight from work. He had to go to the bathroom, so he gave me the lightsaber to hold out in the lobby. And I'm standing there in a suit with this crossguard lightsaber. It looks so weird. But my favorite moment watching that movie was when Kylo Ren throws that hissy fit and starts like slashing up the computer like that. And myself on one side and my other brother John on the other side just started turning towards Ethan and stared at him. And I just like, you are Kylo Ren. Because my brother would do stuff like that. But it just, yeah, all the time. There's so many great moments, like Avengers Infinity War, when the snap happened. I don't think I've ever been in a theater with that many people with it being that quiet. It was just a hush. And then everyone started murmuring afterwards. And I was sitting there like staring at the screen. And my other brother, John, started getting angry. He's like, say something. Because he was just like, come on. Because like, I have a couple of honorable mentions of just Johnisms at movies. That was one of them. Seeing the Ragnarok with Ethan and John, when Surtur started talking and it started to become very obvious it was Clancy Brown from like famous voice actor, the Kurgan from Highlander and everything. And John's like, oh my God, is that Clancy Brown? Like just out loud. In the theater. Seeing Halloween 2016 with John. John's a movie talker. And John's like, no, why the F would you go in there? Like during the movie. And some guy off to the left of him just like, right? Started like building off of what John was saying. And I'm just sitting there like, my God. Oh, and
I want to see a movie with John.
John's a fun time watching a movie with, because I saw Bohemian Rhapsody with him. I saw that. And I would feel remiss not to add this special little series of thoughts of going to the movies with my mother, because it really got me to start having a thing to do with my mom. Was I started taking her to the movies. I was I was not in a relationship at the time, and my mom's like, "Why are you going to the movies by yourself?" And it's like I drove all the way down to Voorhees to AMC because they have, I know the voice. I went down to Voorhees because they have indie films there. It's an AMC classic.
Nice.
And they had The Killing of a Sacred Deer. And I'm going to see The Killing of a Sacred Deer. And Matt knows exactly what I'm going to say.
Terrible idea,
mom's
Shane.
like-
Terrible idea.
My mom's like, "Why don't I come with you?" I'm like, "Mom, having seen The Lobster, I knew what to expect out of this movie." I'm like, "It's a weird movie. My mom doesn't like weird movies." And she's like, "I'll come." I'm like, "Okay." And the second, Nicole Kidman is giving a quid pro quo hand to somebody for information, and I'm sitting there staring at the screen, not making eye contact with my mother because I do not want to acknowledge the reaction she's having to this moment happening in this movie. And I'm just like, and when we left the movie, I'm like, "This is why I told you it was a weird movie." And then the next week, I took her to go see Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which was a whole different experience because my mom and this movie do not agree politically. And he was not a fan. But then finally, I got some winners with like The Man Who Invented Christmas, The Greatest Showman. I've taken my mom to see Little Women, Mary Poppins Returns. Over the summer, when we have half-day Fridays at Ryder, I would take my mom to the movies with me to go see stuff. I took her to go see Hobbs and Shaw so she could swoon over Jason Statham and The Rock. And
So I had to mute myself. I just kept laughing, mostly at the Three Billboards.
yeah. And my last memory of going to a movie in a theater is taking my mom to go see I Still Believe, which is a faith-based film, which I know my mom would really enjoy it. And that was the day they closed the AMCs. So they're like, "We're closing early today." Because I'm like, should I be going to this movie then?
Yeah.
I still went, and we went into Walmart that day. And that was the last time like I actually spent a day going into places. And that was March 16th, 2020.
Yeah.
So, and there you go. Those are some of my greatest hits of experiences going to the theater.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Ooh, I got two honorable mentions. In high school, for some reason, we all watched the movie Precious, which I have no idea why. But I remember I had seen it by myself like the weekend before, and then it was because I wanted to watch it without like BS. And then I watched it. Like it was like a school we all went because our school was next to a mall, so we all just like left the school buildings, like walked over there because we were all like in 12th grade. So we didn't have to have like signed slips or whatever. And then I remember laughing by myself. I remember laughing at certain parts, and then obviously not laughing at other parts. And I remember watching it in there, like other people laughed at some of the same parts that I watched, but then some other parts that were incredibly uncomfortable. And it's like, oh, okay, I can definitely immediately, it was almost like cringy, but like I can definitely tell like those people that were laughing really loud at those moments were kind of people that like nervous laugh. Like that's so uncomfortable. I've never seen or heard someone talk like that. Like, wow. So that was an interesting one. Also, two people got into a fight, like a couple rows like above me when I saw iRobot. And then yeah, they got into a fight.
One of them accused the other
remember
one
what they heard.
wrong.
I just remember the phrase "he's mine," and then I just remember that, and then I don't know what was going on, but I didn't want to turn around. Mostly because my mom was like, "Don't turn around, don't watch the movie." Like I don't know. And then, but then AMC gave us all like free free tickets or whatever.
Oh,
They're like, "Hey,
nice.
you guys can come back." Yeah. And also, iRobot was a good movie, and I watched it again, so I got the middle part.
I dug iRobot. I remember really digging iRobot.
Say what?
I've never watched it.
I liked it too.
Yeah, I like it.
Gotta check it out. There's a health emergency during Jojo Rabbit when I went to go see that. They had to stop the film.
What?
And somebody had to get carted out.
Damn.
At AMC Voorhees. Craziest things, I've seen parking lot fights at the movies.
What were
And
they
road
fighting
rage in the
over?
parking lot, specifically at AMC Hamilton. That is a crazy parking lot.
And there's like a lot of cops always just like, why are they?
That's
What the hell are they fighting about?
So that brings up, you know, I do have like one honorable mention, but this is I'll probably talk about that scene in another video at some point because it's about my grandma very quick. But I've seen that happen in movie theaters, and I think, you know, people are so used to just being inside their own heads. You're in your own car. Even more so nowadays, we have our own computers. We have these computers in our pockets. And so when you reserve a seat and it turns out that somebody reserved it before you and there was a mistake made, people get really touchy, like immediately. I'm always like, oh my God, can Fred Rogers like just calm down and like do a show for us like right now? Because like adults are forgetting how to be mature at this moment. You know, like they're worse than children at that moment. Because I remember growing up in elementary school, if someone took your seat, there would be somebody there to be like, hey, you took my seat, man, you know, or you know, and when I was a little kid, kids were so nice to each other. It's like, oh, you can sit right here. And then somewhere around second grade, it's like, yeah, I took your seat. What are you gonna do about it? Like, I don't know, everyone just decides to be a dick, you know, but
So I've had plenty of those experiences with people taking my reserved seat at AMC, and 99% of the time they're 70 plus years or older.
Oh, okay.
And then they're just like, and they're little old ladies who I'm like, excuse me, you're in my seat. And they're like, well, I want to sit here. And I'm like,
they don't get it. They don't get it. Like, it doesn't work that way anymore. You don't just buy a ticket rate. So I mean, so what did you do? What do you do in that sort of
You
circumstance?
sit on them.
Oh, okay.
I never once spit on a little old lady who stole my seat. I did loom over them. Not gonna lie.
Loom. Loom. That's worse than spitting. I feel like looming over someone. Is that a criminal offense?
What, standing and staring at them until they moved out of your seat is a criminal offense?
It should be.
Will be one day, I'm sure.
I just kind of looked at them like, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say anything. I just kind of stared at them until they moved.
Oh,
Sometimes, like,
Wait, I have to mute my mic.
you just went straight passive aggressive. You just went.
So I'm going to show a little bit of the Walter in me, because I'm like, this ain't Vietnam. This is a movie theater. There's rules. And there's an etiquette. Like, I'm one of those people that I am so pissed off if you take your phone out. I'm so pissed off if you're talking. And if there's reserved seating, it's simple. You got a seat. Sit in the one that's on your ticket.
Right,
What's the worst thing? I am not a small person. I try to get seats away from people if I can, because like I want to be able to sit in my seat comfortably. And like, there's rules.
I'm having a good time, guys.
Like, I don't jaywalk. If it says red light, I'm not crossing the crosswalk, even if there's no cars there. Like, there's rules in the world, and I follow them. So
I just feel like people there's always another way other than yelling and getting in each other's face. And I feel as though I've seen that happen, you know, from time to time. And it's just so, because going to the movies should be like, oh man, we're going to the movie. This is such a cool thing, you know? And you're right. It's frustrating, Shane. You're 100% right, man. I remember one time I was a young person who sat where we were supposed to sit, and I said, I'm sorry, man, but you're sitting in our seat. I showed it to him. I said, see, we're supposed to be in F1 or whatever it was, and he was so pissed off that I had to have him leave. And I remember being like, come on, man, take it, smoke a joint, dude, relax. Like, it's a big deal. Go relax, man, have a sandwich. Like, I mean, it's not a big deal.
We're watching Django. If this is going to be the worst thing, this is not going to be the worst thing we're going to have experience tonight.
Forget about it. We can't get through this. So, but I think that, I go to the movie theater, I'm ready to have a good time, and that sort of stuff just kind of kills your vibe. And I remember I was at a concert with an ex-girlfriend, same thing. She wanted to be on the front so bad, so I stood behind her and held her as she made sure she was right in front. I was like, okay, we'll do this. Two girls came along, taller than her, tried to elbow her out of the way. She spends the first half of this concert just gyrating into her to get her, and I looked at her, I was like, really, are you real? Because we're this close. Are you really, is it this important to you to be in the front? And then my girlfriend finally just let her in. But I remember thinking, this is so stupid. You guys are just have a good time, have fun, dance a little bit. Stop. You guys are gonna get into a fist fight over
Imagine Dragons
instead of it was just like that sort of stuff too. It was that same sort of vibe.
Two quick stories about concerts. So I was at a Black Label Society concert, which there's a level of intensity. There's a mosh pit and everything. I was there with my coworker Steve, who was in a rider polo and slacks, and I'm like, didn't dress the part, Steve. But somebody was like, hot beverage, and we're like, oh, they didn't have a beverage. Life hack, and I'm like, you son of a bitch!
What an asshole!
And he got up to the front. I'm like, wow. On that level. Can't even be mad.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because that's a life hack and a half right there. Yeah. The other one though, Steve and I were at the Stone Pony Summer Concert Series when New Year's Day, In This Moment, and Hailstorm played. And there is this couple with their small young girls with them at this concert. They had headphones on, the girls, luckily. They had the girls up on their shoulders. And there were people back where Steve and I were, and we were just yelling at them to get their daughters down because they were blocking their view. And it almost turned into a fight. Security had to come over. Steve and I are goodbye.
Wait, what were you guys there to see? What were you guys there to see?
It was New Year's Day, In This Moment, and Hailstorm.
Okay.
Which was great. It was an awesome concert. I was so glad I got to see them.
Did the little girls enjoy it?
Huh?
No, I'm just kidding. I said the little girls enjoy it.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Quick.
I enjoyed it. But that's a tricky thing because it's I miss the level of decorum at the movie theater, but people are going to be assholes sometimes. And I'm going to say, I've never started a fight. I've never yelled, and I've never gotten anybody's face in any of those situations. I might have stood there staring at them, and I just happened to be 6'1" and not a small dude. But kind of use that to my advantage. But it's just on some level, it's just why don't you just sit in the seats that you had, you bought? Yeah. There's a reason that this all happens this way. This is the whole entire reason why they put in reserve seating, but it's an interesting thing. it definitely changed culture in the movie theater, because before you had to get there and get a seat. Yeah. And sometimes you wind up in the front row, like at the roadshow of the 70 millimeter print of the Hateful Eight, because you had a bunch of BS happen at Lord and Taylor. And Alex knows because I was supposed to meet him there and got caught at customer service. And then I didn't think The Lighthouse was going to be that popular on a Friday night, and got stuck right in the center, right in the front row, and watched The Lighthouse like foghorns like hitting my face in the front row. So you have your moments. But Alex, I know you had one other thing about your grandma.
Okay. No, you know what? I'll say that for another time. But it is fun. It is fun to go to the theater with your friends, and it is fun to. And I hope as time goes on, vaccine goes on, I pray to God that we can get back to doing that, because there is something special about getting together with people, even people you don't know, and going to a movie, hearing that laughter, hearing those shrieks, and
Yeah, that aren't just mine and Jess's. Yeah. Honestly, because that's basically what it's been for the past year. But I'm definitely going to I'm planning on renting those theaters for, if they're like one of those big movies coming out. The next big movie that's only in theaters is A Quiet Place 2. Comes out at the end of May. Tentatively. We'll have to see. But I thought this was fun. Hopefully all of you out there enjoy all of our crazy stories about movie watching. And also some of our teases towards our rant episodes of Development Hell Podcast, because I think we're going to have some fun with those. Definitely going to have some fun with those. Any last minute thoughts, Alex or Matt?
I think that the movie The Gift is probably one of the greatest cinematic treasures that has ever blessed either a retina or a DVD collection.
And let them fight. So we're gonna have Ken Watanabe is gonna introduce our next episode of the Development Hell Podcast, of the two of them fighting over the gift.
Why did they kill him in the last movie? That was so stupid.
And we're referencing Godzilla and Ken Watanabe dying in King of All Monsters. We're not spoiling anything about the gift.
Oh yeah, my bad.
That for yourself.
Don't worry.
I feel less bad about spoiling Godzilla, because let's be real here.
That's one
All
movie
the human characters suck anyway.
One thing about the gift, you can't really spoil it, can you? I mean,
so our next episode of Development Hell Podcast will see the movie club return, as we're going to be talking about The French Connection, actually in a week, because we want to do it before the Oscars comes out. So look at you, lucky folk out there who get 2 straight weeks of Development Hell Podcast coming up. But thank you all. Alex, Matt, and Shane want to thank all of you for tuning in and supporting the Development Hell Podcast.